My best friends live in the woods. The Adventures of Albert by Anne Michelle Moracek. Chapter 10. The Dust Sparkles. If you sweep your hand in front of your eyes and look through the sunbeam, you can see tiny sparkles of dust swirl in the air. Albert was laying on his back, staring up through the streaming sunlight. They kind of sparkle. Isn't it amazing? You never see them, but when you really look for them in the sunbeams, they're all around you. They are invisible, but they are there all the time, sparkling all around you. Entranced, Albert continued to reach out, sweeping his hands through the sunbeam as it found its way through the leaves of the forest.
What are you talking about? I don't see anything.
Jimmy Squirrel flicked his tail and started to jump up. No, Jimmy, you have to lay still and really look, Albert explained.
Nah, I'm no good at that.
Jimmy twitched his tail again. No good at what? Albert asked.
No good at sitting still,
Jimmy said. So true, Albert thought.
Let's go see what the girls are doing,
Jimmy offered.
I don't know what you want to stare at dumb old dust for, Jimmy said impatiently.
Because it's beautiful, Albert sighed.
Well, I'm bored.
Jimmy kicked the dirt. Here, have some more dust. Jimmy grinned.
I'm going off to find Molly and Clara,
Jimmy said as he started toward the river. All right, I'm coming. Albert got up and joined Jimmy on the path. It was already getting warm. Those beautiful sunbeams were finding their way to the forest floor with the heat and energy of a summer's day. It's getting hot, Albert commented. How do you know Molly and Clara will be at the river? Albert asked as they walked along.
'Cause,
Jimmy smiled. 'Cause how? Albert insisted.
'Cause they're best friends, and when you find one, you find the other,
Jimmy said in a how can you not know that sort of way. Okay, so how do you know they will be by the river? Albert continued to ask Jimmy.
Don't you know? You said it yourself. It's getting hot, and they will be splashing to cool off.
Jimmy rolled his eyes. Sure enough, they began to hear the giggles and splashes of the girls as they approached the riverbed. As the path widened, Albert saw his little sister, Molly, splashing water at someone to her right. A few steps more, and Albert saw Clara. It took his breath away every time he saw her. Albert had first seen her staring at him his first day of Glen School. When Mother Skunk had decided Molly should go with them to school, she and Clara had hit it off immediately. They were best friends now. What they found to giggle about hours on end, Albert could not imagine. Join us, Molly called out to the boys. Yes, please, Clara added. She bit her eyelashes and looked down for just a moment. Then she took both hands and splashed Albert with a laugh. The water fight was on. The pearls of water droplets flew until they were all soaked and tired from laughing. Who's hungry? Albert asked with a smile. I know where the roses bloom. There's always lots of rosehip apples. Albert held out his hand to Clara. I'll show you, Albert said, now smiling ear to ear. Oh, that sounds lovely and delicious, Clara smiled back. Come on, Molly and Jimmy. Let's see where the roses bloom, Clara called to her friends. Albert led the little band of friends along the riverbank until they came to the place where the big rocks made the river swirl and splash. We turn right here and go up this hill, Albert said. How do you know? Molly asked. Because this is the way to the crocus flowers. I saw the roses when Bluebell and I went to gather the saffron. Albert remembered it well. When he and Bluebell had come, the roses were just a thick bramble of stems and fishhook thorns, still crusty with snow. Now they were in their glory. The leaves branched out in clusters of 3 and 5, and the flowers were a lovely single row of soft pink petals. Look at the ends of the stems where the old flowers have faded. There should be little red fruit, Albert instructed. Yes, I see some, Clara said, excited. As she reached to pluck one, her arm got too close to a thorn. Ouch! She pulled back her hand. Let me, Albert offered. No, you'll get stuck, Clara protested. I don't mind, Albert smiled. He went to work picking the rose hip apples. They were sweet and tart all at once. Each one he picked, he handed to Clara. Then he offered, Would you like me to pick some for you, Molly? Yes, please, Molly smiled. Thought she'd never ask, she teased. Albert tried not to show the wince on his face when a thorn tore his fur. The smiles on the girls' faces were so worth it. Jimmy, you're on your own, Albert laughed. You can pick your own. Okay, fine. Jimmy shrugged and rolled his eyes. Helpless girls, he thought. There was truly a large bramble of rose. The air smelled so beautiful, and as their tummies filled, the sunbeams began to get lower in the sky. Albert took a handful of fruit and filled Molly's apron pocket. Then he picked another handful and gave them to Clara. Put them in your apron pocket, Albert told Clara. You can plant them just outside your front door, Albert continued. Then they will grow, and next year you will have the start of your very own rose bramble. When you step out your door, the perfume will greet you with happy memories of today. And when you eat its sweet and tangy fruit, you can remember me. Albert was looking at Clara. She blushed. What a lovely thought, Albert. Clara was glowing with such a lovely smile. I will do just that. Molly interrupted. Albert, do you think you could help me plant some at our cave entrance? Of course, Albert answered. I'd be happy to. Jimmy flicked his tail and chattered. Well, I'm not planting anything but acorns. They all laughed. Later that night, Albert told Mother Skunk every detail about his day. He was in the habit of reviewing his day with her after the little ones were tugged onto the great moss bed for the night. He still had trouble sleeping at night, and his evening talk over chamomile tea with Mother helped him relax. Mother Skunk had grown to love these quiet moments. It was a real insight into her son's thoughts, and more importantly, into his heart and spirit. Clara is a special girl to you, Albert, Mother Skunk observed. I suppose so, Albert said. He hadn't really put it into words. She is another raccoon, you know, Mother Skunk said, studying Albert's face. It was a revelation. He had just thought she was pretty. You haven't seen one of your own kind since you were a baby. Do you remember? Mother Skunk was soft-spoken. She came over and gave Albert a hug and took his empty teacup. Do you know why the dust sparkles, Albert? She continued. Albert shook his head. It's the love of all the creatures that lived before. All our ancestors going back to the first forest. We are dust. Then we are sparks of life ignited by love. Then we return to the dust. But the love remains. Good night, Albert. Remember, I will always love you. Chapter 10. The Dust Sparkles. Discussion and Questions. Love. I almost titled this chapter First and Forever, because these are the two facets of love it explores. Albert has found his first love in Clara. While he still has not put it into words, the seed of love for Clara is planted in his heart. not a silly crush, but a true love that grows slowly in friendship over time. Question 1. Is love stronger when it grows slowly through friendship? Question 2. Can the love found in childhood endure? Again, we see a contrast between Jimmy and Albert. Jimmy is very literal. His perception of the world is limited. Albert has a depth that always allows him to imagine the spiritual dimension of his world. Mother Skunk knows this and encourages him to discuss his life's experiences with her. She acts as a guide as his spirit grows. Question 3. How does Mother Skunk help Albert to understand his world? Question 4. Is it important to have someone with whom you can talk and reflect? Mother Skunk has the knowledge of the eternal aspect of love. She knows someday she will leave the world and join the sparkles of dust. Question 5. Why is it important to know love is eternal? Question 6. Why did Mother Skunk remind Albert she will always love him? Question 7. Can you list the people in your life you will always love?
I am the composer and performer for all the music in this video. Both audio recordings and the printed scores are available on mybestfriendsliveinthe.woods.com. I will provide the link below. The painted illustrations are also my creation. Prints are available on mybestfriendsliveinthe.woods.com. This is a novel. The chapters are meant to be heard in the order in which they were written. And while each chapter can stand alone, they do build as new characters are introduced and past events are referred to. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. The chapters are numbered, so if you're just joining us, be sure to go back and watch from Chapter 1